Hello and welcome to Witty-Banter. I'm your host, Marie Ryan. Today's topic is why you need a personal brand. Joining me is Jasmine Alich, creator and brand strategist on LinkedIn. Welcome, Jasmine.
Hey, how's it going? Glad that you invited me, by the way, just because I've been watching some of your clips on LinkedIn and I was like, she's good. So I'm glad I'm here.
Thanks. I'm definitely going to keep that in. I don't care what I have to edit out, but thank you.
Okay.
Um,
I don't mind.
so, so first of all, who do you help?
Oh my, that's a long list. I hate saying that I help everybody, but I help solopreneurs with their personal branding on LinkedIn, business owners in general, companies when it comes to their copywriting and brand strategy. I've worked with a lot of Fortune 500 companies in my career, and that would be the list. And I wouldn't want to make it longer, but if I wanted to jump into the specifics, I could. But yeah, Fortune 500 companies, as far as their copywriting and brand strategy is concerned, and as far as coaching goes, really individuals and or companies. I've been doing a lot of group coaching these past couple of years, and yeah, just LinkedIn coaching and personal branding in general.
Right. And why should people build a personal brand on LinkedIn?
The reason why anyone on LinkedIn and beyond should invest time in their personal brand is because there is no better time to do it. And I know people have been saying this for years. Like 2 years ago, you could have heard those quotes online, no better time to invest in a personal brand. 5 years ago, no better time to invest in a personal brand. I truly believe that the more time goes by, the more we'll see the importance of personal brands and personal branding in general. So, one of the better examples I can give you these days is people who are out of jobs, people who are fresh out of college, and people who just want to pivot their careers and want to start something new. The old way would be to apply for jobs, send CVs, send, job applications, reach out to recruiters even. The new way is you post content online, you build relationships, you expand your network, and instead of searching for opportunities, opportunities come to you. And I genuinely mean that. That is the one big difference maker of having a personal brand versus not having a strong personal brand. You don't wait for the opportunities. You don't have to constantly carve out your own path, constantly worry about tomorrow. Are you going to be financially secure? Are you going to get that next opportunity? By being present online, by sharing content that resonates with thousands and millions out there, you are creating not just a following, but you are creating a reputation. You are simply sharing your voice around the world. And without doing any of that, that simply won't be possible. So, personal branding to me is not an option in 2024 and in 2023. It is a must.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially in this day and age with redundancies rife. I think people are seeing that they're putting their expertise in the companies, but you can't necessarily take that with you. Whereas if you invest time into personal branding, your career becomes bulletproof. If you need to make a transition quickly, the opportunities are coming to you. You're building up your own brand recognition and your own thought leadership. So it's certainly easier to make moves if you need to build your network, to help different companies, and to find out your niche within whichever sector you'd like to work in.
Most certainly, I think anyone who wants to invest in a personal brand these days shouldn't worry about what industry they're in, what type of job they're doing, how many years of experience they have. They should just do it. They should just start posting content online and they should start spreading that voice all around the world. It's free. I mean, on all these platforms, it's free. So why not? The question is really, why not?
If you search online, you'll often find people saying it's too late, that apparently every platform is saturated. They're not. It's often people who are scared of a little bit of competition. And they always say that 5 years ago, it was really easy. Like, no matter what year you search these things, apparently it was easy 5 years ago and impossible now. The time is now. If you start now, you will have a good personal brand within a couple of years, I think, provided you're consistent in whatever it is you choose to do.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
Great. And for people who want to build their personal brand, how do they get started?
Oh my. So, for anyone looking to build a personal brand online in 2023 and beyond, the easiest way is to jump on a platform like LinkedIn or Twitter and just start posting. That would be step number one. However, posting often can feel one directional, especially if you don't already have some sort of following. If people are not seeing that content, like, what's it for? What's the purpose? So you got to get out there. You got to be in other people's networks. The easiest way to do that is by following a bunch of different people that have common interests with you and commenting on a lot of those people's posts. So, for example, on LinkedIn, the easiest thing you can do on a daily basis is log in, see whatever is in your feed, and just leave super valuable comments. Approach people. And I don't necessarily just mean seeing a post and leaving one comment. I also mean replying to other people's comments. Go out there, actively pursue those new relationships, expand your network. If you have read something that you loved, if someone has said something that resonated with you, tell them. It's that easy. Do this every single day on 20, 30, 50 posts. You'll see the compounding effect over just over a month, let alone 2 or 6 or 12, 20, 2 years. My goodness, the compounding effect is going to be crazy. I can give you a first-hand account, like what my personal experience has been on LinkedIn. I've been doing this for years. And the biggest benefit to me, I can say this with confidence, hasn't been posting, it's been commenting and really starting conversations with people. Because I could have posted daily, every single day, multiple times per day. But if no one's seeing those posts, what was it all for? Instead, I was posting, but on the side, I was commenting a whole lot. But again, even in that, so I'm going to give you like a whole hierarchy of events over here. So posting was step number one for sure. Commenting was step number two. Commenting a lot was step number three. But commenting with value and commenting really with quality was number four in that list. Just because if you're constantly out there just aiming for quantity of comments, that's still not going to bring you any visibility. If you're on every post and just saying, hey, great post. Hey, I love what you shared. Hey, this is a great read. Thank you for sharing. That doesn't resonate with people. It might resonate with the author of the post, but that's it. It stops right there. But if you read a post and it's about 7 things to do XYZ, and you have an 8th or 9th or 10th option that you would like to add to that list, write those things down in a comment. So tell people, this was amazing. Here are 3 more that I can guarantee they work. Number 8, this, and that. Number 9, this, and that. Number 10, this, and that. This is the sort of comment that no longer resonates just with the author of a post. This is the sort of comment that resonates with every single person seeing and reading that post. So oftentimes you'll see, like on Twitter, you'll see publicly how many views a post has, a tweet. On LinkedIn, the authors of the post will see how many impressions their post has. That means that people have been served that content. If 10,000 people, 20,000 people are seeing a post, a comment like that can be the difference maker between one person, meaning just the author, seeing your comment, and potential dozens, hundreds, and thousands of people seeing your comment. And this is how you get maximum visibility. And I know I just simplified it, but it's really that simple. You just gotta actively push yourself and put yourself out there. If you're just one directionally posting, you're posting and expecting people will come to you, it ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. But if you are actively pursuing a new network, new connections, new followers, starting new conversations, that's when you know the compounding effect is going to be greater. People are going to be returning the favor. They're going to be visiting your profile. They're going to be visiting your posts. They're going to start following you for those same insights that you share on other people's posts. Because if they're thinking, oh my goodness, this was only a comment, I wonder what this person's posts are like. So this is how you also turn, pure views from comments and other people's posts into followers for your account, for your profile.
Yeah, I agree. I think sometimes if you see a post with a good few comments, it's easy to think that everyone is commenting on LinkedIn. They're not. A really tiny percentage of people are commenting, and the millions of followers are reading. So there's definitely enough room for everybody. And like that, as good as people are on LinkedIn, there are still a lot of people who say things like, great post, liked that, useful. That's what the like button is for. So if you add value by saying something interesting, useful, or contrarian, you can really cut through the noise and get some visibility, provided it's genuine and authentic, that you're not just saying it for the sake of it. And like that, the author of the post is usually grateful if somebody disagrees or shares an added insight into the thing they've posted initially.
I can't agree more. I always tell people when you're commenting, comment with value and comment a lot. Don't necessarily comment a lot and think that that's your value. No, it's the other way around. The comments need to be valuable first. And if they are, then you should start doing more and more of them.
Yeah. And can you explain your tip about adding, actually two. One is adding a PS on your posts, and the other is about being the first commenter.
So I'll tell you something about adding a PS in every single post. I believe that it is pertinent, that it is a must. Now, sometimes even I, like myself, skip that rule, but I know 100% if I do include a PS, especially something that invites people to engage, I'm going to get a lot of comments. I'm going to get a lot of engagement on that post. So here's my philosophy on that. And it's actually just backed by human psychology. I believe that a good PS should have an instant response. So, yes, that means in your PS, you should ask a question. In 99% of the cases, you should ask a question after your post. And if that question is something that's super broad, super general, super tough to answer, not a whole lot of people will be answering. I can give you an example. So I could be posting something around my failures, like I'm being discriminated on a job, I got fired, I got punched in the face by my boss, whatever. Like the post could be about anything. But then at the end of that post, if I ask, so what's your biggest failure story? At face value, that question like is good. There's nothing wrong with that question. But the problem is it takes me a while to think of an actual response. Like, what is my biggest failure story? Oh my goodness. Now I got to think about it. It takes quite some time. It takes a minute, 2 minutes to think of the answer. You can't expect, you can't possibly expect every single person reading your post to do that. They're not going to. They're just going to either click, like or whatever, and they're going to wave by. They're gone. The other thing is, even if they do think of a response, it's still going to take them a couple of minutes to write that humongous story just because it is too demanding. A, it's not instant, and two, it is demanding to write a comment like that. So what I do is I understand that. I understand that people are not there just for my posts. No one's there just for my posts on LinkedIn. So I try to make it as easy and as quick for people to comment, to leave a comment on my post, and they can go and continue, continue using LinkedIn during their day. So my PS philosophy has 3 rules. Number 1, the question should have an instant response. An instant response. Who's your favorite singer? Who's your favorite singer? Like immediately you think of the answer. Number 2 is it should either be a quick response or a yes or no response. So in the example of the failure story and the job discrimination, whatever, I could simply ask, have you ever been discriminated on your job? Yes or no? Now, psychologically, because the response is instant, we want to share more. It feels weird to simply write yes in a comment. Yes, I have. So naturally, everyone who's reading that post, everyone who's related to that post, everyone who resonated with the points you were making, they're going to want to also leave a meaningful comment. So this is how you kind of get them invested into your story. And you can guarantee that those comments are going to be real and good. They're not going to be generic, like, yes, I have good post, great story, blah, blah, blah. And number three is the response should be a number, a metric. So let's say I was just sharing a post about a commenting strategy on LinkedIn, like what's the best commenting approach, how many hours per day you should spend, how many comments per day you should leave, things like that. In my PS, I can simply ask, how many comments per day do you leave? That's it. Instant response, and it's a number. Or, do you spend more than 1 hour per day on commenting? Yes or no? Or even, how much time per day do you spend on commenting? And then people will give me like a very specific number. Either way, all of these three approaches, so instant response, yes or no, or a number, they're all instant and they're all easy to do. And that's the anatomy of a really good PS. And I feel like a lot of people, that being said, I feel like a lot of people on LinkedIn use the PS in the wrong way. Instead of having it be what we just described, a CTE, essentially a call to engage, they're having it be a call to action, a CTA, meaning they will often use the PS to plug their newsletter, to say, hey, to announce something, to do this and that. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, the visibility is still high in that post. The problem is it doesn't invite comments. That's the problem. So if you're complaining about not getting comments, and if you're actually not even inviting people to comment, there's your problem. Your PS simply isn't inviting enough. Your post, therefore, as a whole, isn't engaging enough. So a PS can truly solve a lot of problems for people who worry about their engagement. I've done this at this point for hundreds of people with my LinkedIn coaching. And every single time we go through this, like, they ask me, is it really that simple? Like, just including a PS? Yes, it really is. Now, obviously, not everyone's going to have the same viewership. Not everyone's going to get the same impressions, depending on follower size and all that. But the thing is, if you had received 2 comments yesterday and today you received 10 just because you included a PS, that's a freaking spike. That's a huge, growth curve from 2 to 10. Or if you were receiving 20 and then you receive 100, that is huge. Simply because you made the ending of your post that much more approachable and that much more engaging.
That's incredible. As a marketer, I often think you need to optimize and refine things. The best content wins. If you're not getting enough comments, you need to make it better. But that's an example of a really simple tweak that would seriously boost engagement without taking much effort at all.
Oh, 100%. It's usually the little tweaks in your social media content that give the best results. I feel like people often, they try to experiment a little bit more than they actually should. For me, an experiment is seeing if a one-liner hook is better than a two-liner hook. For me, an experiment is testing if 3 lines at the end are better than 1 line at the end. For me, an experiment isn't simply comparing, a short form versus a super long form, because obviously they're going to be different. So all these little tweaks, you got to test them out. And yeah, I've tested this out so many times with myself, with my own posts, with other people's posts, and then I can confidently say that whatever I'm sharing on LinkedIn works 100%. And I can give you the context, like where it works, for what types of posts and things like that. So yeah, this particular PS example and the sort of 3-step psychology of it, it genuinely works.
Yeah, great. And what are your top tips for writing copy for LinkedIn?
Writing copy on LinkedIn. It is one of those things that people often underestimate because it's just writing. I hear that quote a lot. It's just writing. And I have a problem with that. I have a huge problem with that. It's not just writing, especially since we're talking about a shorter form piece of writing, piece of media, if you will. If we take, books and long form articles and even YouTube videos that are 10, 50 minutes long, those would be long form for me. A LinkedIn post caps out at around 3,000 characters. That's nothing. But even so, it is super long for most people. 3,000 characters, like having a person scroll down 4 or 5 times before they reach the bottom of a post. That is darn long for social media. So I have this whole philosophy, a whole set of approaches when it comes to LinkedIn and when it comes to writing online. And I'll just throw out some of them. So one of my biggest ones that people really love, just because the way I've named them, the way I've phrased them, is they rhyme. So one of the biggest ones that people love is, if there's too much copy, make it choppy. Now, what I mean by that is people love, for whatever reason, and this could be a consequence of just, I'm a teacher. This could be a consequence of how we were taught in schools, like essay writing. The goal in schools was always to hit that word count, right? The teacher will tell you, you need to have 500 words in your essay. And then you're like, henceforth, hitherto undreamt of, we will be pursuing these next steps in the growth of our company. And I'm like, what the hell did you just, what the hell does that even mean? Moving forward, we're focused on the growth of our company. There we go. That's the sentence. No extra words, nothing. So my whole thing with LinkedIn is, whenever you're writing super long sentences, especially if they span like across 2 or 3 lines, chop them up. Wherever there's too much text, wherever there's too much copy, make it choppy. Chop it up into smaller pieces. And in about 9 out of 10 cases, you actually can do this with ease, with almost zero rewriting. If your sentence has multiple parts, if you have a ton of commas, a lot of those can simply be replaced with a full stop. And not only will it make your writing seem more optimized, it will actually make the readability that much more enjoyable. Because no one's ready, no one's on LinkedIn to read essays. People need to realize this. No one logs into LinkedIn in the morning and is ready to read an essay or to read a freaking book. If people wanted to read books, they're logging off. They're taking a glass of coffee, water, juice, whatever. They're going in their little nook in their living room or on their balcony, and they're going to take that book and they're going to read. They're not doing that on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, it's all about that quick value. It's all about quick nuggets of information that people can consume and they move on with their day. So chopping up your sentences into smaller pieces is a really big one. Therefore, it immediately applies to line length. On LinkedIn, whenever you see paragraphs, it looks like walls of text. And walls of text, it's funny because the word says it. It's a wall. Like, it feels you're guarding something. Something is hiding behind it. I need to either destroy that wall, bring that wall down in order to get to the information that you're hiding behind it, right? Or I simply cannot see behind the wall just because it is a huge block that is not consumable in an instant. But if you chop it up into smaller pieces and you turn one block of text into several lines with white spaces in between, and you draw attention to certain things, and you even have like a one word in one line, like look, that could be a line in and of itself. Look. And then you start off with something else. That line that says, look, it draws so much attention. It breaks apart the post, the part one into parts 1 and 2, and it lets you know what's coming is important. But if you simply hide it in a paragraph and it says, look, 3 dots, it's not the same effect. So yeah, chopping it up and really making sure that your text is visually pleasing on the eyes, that would be, I would say, in 2023, one of the biggest things to pay attention to when it comes to your LinkedIn copy, when it comes to your LinkedIn posts.
Yeah, it's funny because it's so simple, yet most people don't know how. I think when people start writing for the web, they try and sound smart, and they do that by using big words, long drawn out sentences, and the passive voice. They speak like they're living in the 1800s rather than 2023, 2024. So yeah, imagine you're writing for a 5-year-old. Try and explain complex topics in a way that's really easy to understand. Often works far better.
It's true. Our attention spans have gone so down, super low. I often have these discussions, and they become really heated discussions in my comments with people, especially marketers. Marketers don't really like when I say that we should simplify our writing to that extent, like really chop up sentences into smaller pieces. Do not write hooks that are longer than one line, things like that. Because the argument is we are dumbing people down. My argument is no, we have already been dumbed down so much so that 99% of the population, like, I don't have, like, right now, I don't have the statistics to back it up. The thing is, no one's reading those huge blocks of text. And if they are, it's a super niche audience for a super, super niche topic. And they simply don't care. They're like, for example, anyone who's into research, analytics, big pharma, and all that, they're used to big blocks of text. For the vast majority of people who are just online consuming content, wanting to get better, they're not. Having it be bite sized, having it be scannable first and foremost, and having it be easily digestible, that's the way to go. And no one's really to blame. That's just the way we have been preconditioned to think and to create content, especially in the time we're living in, like TikTok and short form video and YouTube, shorts and reels. These short videos are bringing that gap even further down. So our attention spans, therefore our interest spans, it's only going to get a little bit worse from here on out. And I get that it's a hard pill to swallow, but it's a reality we just have to accept. It's like there's no easy way to put it. We just have to accept it. Like, this is going on. The attention span of an average human being is down. The interest span of an average human being is down. So are you going to fight it, or are you going to embrace it and, leverage all of that situation into the performance of your content to actually help the person? Because if you're doing the exact opposite, you're not helping the person out. You're just pushing them away because they're not even going to be reading your content. Anyhow, it's a fun discussion I often have with marketers. My whole thing is I've accepted it. This is what's going on. And basically, there's nothing we can do about it other than optimize our content for maximum readability, therefore maximum understanding. And yeah, whoever wants to fight that, let them be.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. It's hard enough these days to get people to read an email properly, an email that they're being paid to read, let alone anything else. But like that, because not everyone is adapted, there are still huge opportunities for people who know how to format their text well.
Oh, absolutely. Formatting text on social media is one of the biggest pleasures in life. I know I like talking about formatting a lot. I like coaching people about textual formatting a lot. And I always tell my students, because I teach copywriting at the university, I like telling my students all copy is visual. And it genuinely is. All text is visual. We just have to understand that it is in order for us to keep paying attention to these little formatting tricks.
Yeah, you've decided whether an article is good or not just by looking at it. If the formatting is pleasing to your eye, you think the article is good, and your opinion usually doesn't change by the time you've actually read it. Okay, so one debate I often have with other marketers myself is which is more important, creativity or consistency?
Mm. See, I will always tell you that it's consistency. In the battle of creativity and consistency, consistency always wins. And I'll tell you why. I've seen countless examples of people whose content objectively, is not good, but they have been so consistent in their posting that they don't have to be the best writer in the world. They don't have to put out the best content out there. They don't have to be even super unique when compared to the next person. The thing is, what they're posting is good enough. It's simply good enough. It doesn't have to be super good and doesn't have to be perfect. All you have to do, and this is the reality of it on social media in 2023, is post content that is good enough consistently. And I will always say this, and this is typically how I motivate a lot of my students and a lot of the people I coach. It is, you don't necessarily have to be the best writer, best marketer, best graphic designer. You just have to do it longer than everyone else. And that is so true for personal brands on social media, specifically on LinkedIn. There are so many algorithm changes. There are so many updates to the platform. You will always see certain people be, super up top and then they just disappear. You will always see people not selling anything and then they turn on into a full sales machine and then they lose a lot of their following. A lot of the times people get discouraged by these moments. So someone, you feel like you're better than, they're in front of you. they're ahead of you, they're above you in a sense, and you get discouraged. No, just stick to your journey, stick to your following, stick to your community, stick to your story and your content and your profile and your brand. No one else matters. No one else exists. Genuinely, because none of those people are going to pay your bills. None of those people are going to be in charge of your brand. You're going to be the only one. And just imagine if you're having a 1% improvement, less than 1% improvement every single day, and you don't quit for the next year. Heck, you don't quit for the next 2 years. Where will you be? Where are you going to be in the next 1 year? Simply don't quit. And I love using that quote. I can't lose if I don't quit. But that's actually so true for personal brands and social media. I see people quit all the time just because, there's a fluctuation in the algo. They're not getting as much engagement as they did last month or last year, and then they quit. And people are focused on the long things. I feel like longevity is one of the biggest things everyone should focus on, and just building a brand that people trust, especially a brand that is memorable. And you can do that. Yes, you can build a brand that is memorable by not being the best.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'd go one step further, and I think creativity is a form of procrastination. You say you want to get started, so you want to come up with the best idea. You check in with other people, you try and make the idea better and better, and you become so obsessed with it that it becomes almost too big to imagine. You make it much bigger than it really is. You might eventually release something and it might be very creative, but if it's one and done, it's not going to get you very far. Whereas if you're consistent, if you post, if it's good enough, and if you post 3 times a week, you're likely to get more visibility. Ironically, that will lead to creativity. Because if you're posting 3 times a week, even if you don't, if you're one of those people who decides not to review somehow, I don't even think that's possible. But by osmosis and by using whatever platform you choose, you're going to learn from it, and then you're going to become more creative, come up with more ideas, figure out what works and what doesn't. So 6 months down the road, you have a bigger brand, you have a lot more creativity and a lot more results than the person who has procrastinated the whole time but is convinced they're on to the next big thing.
I couldn't agree with more. I couldn't agree more. And yeah, I feel like everyone's on their own journey on social media. We just got to realize that no one else is going to determine what your brand is for you. You're in charge. Like, that's really truly what personal branding is all about. You're in charge. And to a further extent, you're in charge of your future. And if that doesn't motivate you, if you're listening to this, a young person, someone who's fresh out of college, someone who hasn't invested a single hour in writing content online, someone who's been in business for 20, 30 years and hasn't posted a single thing on LinkedIn or any platform yet, that's what this whole thing is about. You being in charge. Because you could, be jobless tomorrow. These layoffs are around the world, they're not stopping. The job market is, tougher than it ever was. And investing time and effort into building your personal brand is really all about creating your own opportunities, especially taking control of the future. So I hope this motivates someone, and I hope a lot of people start posting after listening to this.
Yeah, and one final note that's worth mentioning before you start posting, especially as yourself, it is very daunting and it's easy to talk yourself out of it. But everyone on LinkedIn, it's a professional space. So people are really friendly and welcoming. The worst thing that can happen on LinkedIn is that nobody sees it. In other words, they don't like it, they don't care, they don't engage. And that's not even a big deal. But over time, from commenting, you'll figure out what comments work well, and then eventually what type of posts work well for you, for a brand you're building, and the audience and tribe that and community that you're trying to build your personal brand for. And on that note, Jay, how do people get in touch with you?
So you can go to my website, heyj.com, where I have resources and I have a newsletter. and you can sign up over there, or you can just follow me on LinkedIn. I'm also active on Twitter. I'm also going to get on other platforms eventually. But for now, LinkedIn is my main playground. I post a lot over there, and people seem to love it. It's a huge community. It's a really welcoming community, and if you're looking to be part of that community, just follow me on LinkedIn or send me a DM. Or if you're looking to work together, just any one of those things, follow me, shoot me a DM. I'm here for you. Whatever you need as far as writing goes, branding goes, and LinkedIn goes, I'm here for you.
Thanks for tuning in to Witty Banter. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow, like, and share. You can get in touch by visiting the website wittybanter.com. That's witty-banter.com, or follow Witty Banter on LinkedIn to get updates as they happen.